Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Madeline and this is Made with Books, and today I am going to talk about another of the BookTube prize books that I judged in the first round, one of the fiction books, and that was Bunny by Awad. And before I talk about the book, I just wanted to give a quick recommendation on how to spend your free time if you're also staying indoors and staying at home. And then I started listening to Pride and Prejudice. So if you have never read Pride and Prejudice, or if you want to reread Pride and Prejudice, there are currently two wonderful ways to experience the book. The one we are doing, it's the first one we encountered. I think it was up first, and that's why we encountered it first, so we started this one. Is Jennifer Ehle, the actress that played Elizabeth Bennet in the 1995 BBC miniseries of Pride and Prejudice. She's actually reading the whole of Pride and Prejudice. I think she did it on Instagram, but she put up the videos on YouTube as well, so I will link down below to that channel. Also, BookTube's Jen Campbell is reading Pride and Prejudice as well, and I listened to a bit of that as well, and she's doing a wonderful job with all the voices. So if you want to listen to one of the Jennifers, or both of the Jennifers, reading Pride and Prejudice to you, I will link down below to both of these versions. And yeah, now I'm gonna go back to the actual review. Before getting into the book, I have to say, out of the 6 books that I had to read in the first round, Bunny by Awad was actually the book that I was the least interested in picking up. I will read a little bit of the description on the back of the book that I read sort of as a way of introducing me to the story. And it says, Samantha Heather Mackey couldn't be more of an outsider in her small, highly selective MFA program at an elite New England university. A scholarship student who prefers the company of her dark imagination to that of most people, she's utterly repelled by the rest of her fiction writing cohort, a clique of unbearably tree-rich girls who call each other Bunny and seem to move and speak as one. It goes on to describe a bit more of the story, but it didn't sound very interesting to me. It sounded like one of these same old writing story books that I wasn't very interested in picking up. But obviously I had to, and I'm so glad I did, because I ended up absolutely loving this, and I also think that it's absolutely bonkers. Now, as I said, it is about Samantha Heather Mackey. She's a grad school student in a writing program, and she's there on a fellowship, and she's a bit of an outsider. So there's 5 people in her classes, and that's her and 4 other girls, and these 4 other girls are all friends with each other, and they all don't call each other by their names, they only call each other Bunny. And Samantha actually makes quite a bit of fun of these 4 girls. She doesn't really want to be part of their little clique. And she has a friend of her own that is outside of the school, and that's Ava, who is sort of a bit like a darker personality type, I guess, and sort of a bit edgy, a little bit like Samantha as well. And just Ava wants to sort of do her own thing. She doesn't want to be part of such a writing program, things like that. And yeah, they just make fun of the bunnies. But then things start to really change, because Samantha actually gets invited by the bunnies to one of their meetings, and she decides to go. And I am gonna give a little spoiler, but I'm not gonna give the big spoiler of why this book is so crazy. What happens is that Samantha actually sort of gets sucked into the group of the bunnies and becomes one of them. And it is really interesting to read, because that happens in the second part of the book. And in the first part, you get the story through Samantha's perspective. And you get her talking about how ridiculous these girls are and observing these things that they do. And then in the second part, she's one of them, and she still tells you things as she perceives the world, but she's now perceiving them through their eyes, and she's doing the same things, and she's talking in this really weird way. And it's like she's been sucked into a cult, and it's like you're getting almost sucked in with her because of the writing style. So I thought that was really interesting, and I really liked that. There's a few other characters that are relevant to, or sort of relevant to the story. There's Jonah, who's sort of this down-to-earth guy who's also at the same universities, also in a writing program, but taking different classes. And he sort of seems to like live to, you know, the drum, to the beat of his own drum, if you will. He's friends with Samantha, and he pops up every now and then, and you just sort of want her to embrace that friendship a little more. Not in a like they have to be boyfriend and girlfriend, but just the friendship. And then there's also one of the teachers, I think they just call him the Lion, if I remember correctly, who actually was really close to Samantha. They had a really like good relationship in terms of her writing, and also like personal, not in any way as a physical relationship, but they just, you know, they had a good rapport. And apparently, and that is introduced early in the novel, something happened to change that. And you don't find out until very, very late in the novel what that is. And the reveal I thought was really interesting. It's not what you expect it to be. And I thought that was well done, but still I feel like that is a little bit of a sort of tired cliche about the secret that, you know, comes out later. Yeah. So those are sort of the relevant characters that you need to know about going into the story. Now, the bunnies have their creations, and that's all I'm gonna say. I think you can compare them to the writing. So I think at its heart, this book is really, there's a lot of crazy and weird stuff that is happening in here, but I think it's all sort of an allegory on writing, on being different, on finding your own voice, how writing programs can maybe stifle your creativity actually, about dealing with writer's block, which is something Samantha is doing. And it also takes up that writing advice about kill your darlings, that, you know, this things that you have become too attached and that actually stifle the books or the text you're trying to write, or how you have to kill them to grow beyond that of what you're currently writing. And so you have on the one hand this sort of cliquish writing program is perfect and we're doing this, bunnies girls. You have Ava, who is sort of fouled on the other side, sort of doing her own thing, and then you have Samantha, who's sort of being pulled back and forth in the middle, and the repercussions of that, and the repercussions of her joining the bunnies. And the book is absolutely crazy and bonkers, and while I was reading this, I kept saying to Daniel, you need to read this, I need to talk to somebody about this, because it's absolutely insane. And I don't want to give spoilers, so I'm not going to say what the insane thing is. I will say it's sort of along the lines of magical realism, I guess. So if that's something that you won't like, take that as your warning, I guess. But I absolutely loved it. I'm sad to see that it didn't make it to the next round, but I completely understand, because I think this is a love or hate book, and I ended up loving it. And for me, it actually was a second spot right after The Knicker Boys by Colson Whitehead. So I really, really did enjoy this a lot. I definitely want to read other things by Mona Awad in the future. And yeah, that's all I have to say on this one. Let me know if you've read Bunny so that we can talk about it. And if you haven't read it, let me know if you want to. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye guys!